And as President Trump intensified his attacks on federal law enforcement this weekend, lawmakers warned any move to dismiss Special Counsel Robert Mueller would trigger a political crisis. The president tweeted that the Russia investigation, in his words, is a witch hunt. It's the first time he has attacked the special counsel, Bob Mueller, by name in a tweet. The president then continued to tear into the probe, suggesting that Mueller's team is biased because it contains 13 hardened Democrats and 0 Republicans. However, the special counsel is in fact a Republican. This comes just one day after Trump's lawyer issued a statement calling for an end to the Russia probe. The president's criticism of Mueller also comes just after Attorney General Jeff Sessions fired FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe. McCabe has provided the special counsel with notes describing his meetings with President Trump. Joining me now from Washington is CBS News Justice reporter Paula Reid. Paula, first of all, what can you tell us about McCabe's memos? What did he write? What do you believe is contained in those?
Well, sources tell us what's contained in them are contemporaneous notes that describe his interactions with the president and what he observed in the events surrounding the firing of James Comey. Now, these are significant because in a court of law, if you testify to something or if you're speaking to investigators, something that can corroborate your memory is a memo, a diary, any sort of way that you commemorated those events at the exact time they happened. So this helps to corroborate anything McCabe says. But these memos can also be used to corroborate anything that James Comey says as well.
So when we look at the firing, right, Jeff Sessions fired McCabe late Friday saying he, quote, lacked candor. And that was after an IG report. And that candor that he lacked was including under oath on multiple occasions. But McCabe says that this was part of a much wider effort to discredit the FBI entirely. What's the truth?
Well, there's a nugget of truth in both of those statements. Let's be clear. There is an ongoing Office of Inspector General investigation into how the FBI and the Justice Department handled the Hillary Clinton email server investigation. As you remember, there were a lot of really controversial decisions that were made in the course of that investigation. The famous press conference to announce no charges, telling the Hill that there were more emails, even though they weren't sure if they were significant, and also questions about McCabe's role in all of that and whether or not he should have recused. We don't yet have that Inspector General report. However, in the course of that investigation, there were questions posed to McCabe about interactions he had with the Wall Street Journal, then Wall Street Journal, now a Washington Post reporter, Devlin Barrett, about the Clinton Foundation. And an internal ethics watchdog says that he lacked candor. He wasn't fully transparent about those interactions. And that was enough. Again, it was an internal watchdog to recommend his firing. And unfortunately for McCabe, the last line of defense there was Attorney General Jeff Sessions, who not only tends to side with sort of internal processes, but also probably wasn't going to cross the president on this decision.
So Andrew McCabe was fired less than a day before he was set to retire. So what is the status of his pension? Some have said that he's going to lose it. Some have said perhaps it's still in play. He can potentially appeal. What is the situation?
It's unclear, and I've talked about the Justice Department and McCabe's team, and the one thing that they agree on is that we don't know what's going to happen to his pension. Based on some conversations I've had, it seems like he will likely be able to keep a portion of it. Apparently, if you have sort of this level of service, even people who go to jail get to keep a portion of their pension. But it's unclear how much and for how long and what formula they will use, because even any sort of internal appeal that he would try to carry out, he'd outrank anyone, so he doesn't really have the traditional channels of recourse. This is very likely, though, to end up in federal court. And there have been some offers from the Hill. Some Congress folks have offered to give him a job for a few days to help him sort of get those last couple days he needed to get the full pension. Doesn't seem like he's going to take them up on it.
All right. Well, there's more to watch on that. Let's turn now to the special counsel, Bob Mueller. The president, Robert Mueller, the president took to Twitter to criticize Mueller, calling his investigation into possible ties between the Trump campaign and Russia a, quote, witch hunt, while suggesting that the special counsel may be biased because, and his team may be biased. Can this interfere with the investigation, these tweets, this calling out the special counsel?
It's unlikely that folks working in the special counsel's office will pay much heed to these tweets. They kind of go about their work. They work in little groups and little silos on their cases. They've been coming under this kind of scrutiny for the entirety of this investigation, and many of them for the entirety of their careers as they worked on very controversial, high-profile cases. But what this does is it sends a message to anyone in the line of succession to oversee Mueller that if the president wants Mueller fired, he's likely willing to go through that entire line of succession until he finds someone who will do the deed.
Yeah, it's interesting. Lindsey Graham essentially said if the special counsel is fired, that will be the beginning of the end of the Trump administration. But it seems that the president has really stepped up the attacks of this counterintelligence investigation, which is what we're in the middle of right now, by naming the special counsel, by calling out Robert Mueller. Is the president escalating his war against law enforcement?
Yeah, there were two things that happened over the weekend that sort of took this to a next level. The first was the president's sort of victory dance over the firing of Andrew McCabe. He could have just sort of left well enough alone there. I know the Justice Department internally, sources were telling me that their goal was to try to pass this off on career officials, be like, look, this was an internal recommendation. This was not political. This is handled by career officials. This was a decision we had to make. But then when you have the president sort of doing a tap dance, a victory dance, and cheering this decision, again, it makes it look so much more political and really raises the stakes. And then also you have him once again tying the firing of McCabe to the work of Mueller and continuing what is quite clearly a war on federal law enforcement, trying to undermine their credibility, saying they're in tatters, taking out their leadership. You see, this has been going on for over a year. I do think that the president, once again, even if he didn't escalate it, he definitely carried on his attacks on law enforcement over the weekend and really made that McCabe decision look political when the Justice Department is trying so hard to not do that.
All right, Paula Reid, so much to watch coming out of Washington. We thank you for keeping an eye on it. Thanks so much.